in other Hall of Fame inductions and inductees, there, like basketball, football, baseball, there's a dialogue about whether off-court behavior should influence whether or not someone gets inducted. Is that less of an issue with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because there's less of an expectation, or does that become an issue either internally, or do you think it is externally in the public, or is it a non-issue?
Check. we do get that question not as eloquently or as extensive as you put it to me, but when we are discussing nominations and inductees, which will happen again in a few weeks in New York with the nominating committee, those issues do not come up. We look solely at the body of work, and just so you understand, I usually talk about it, we don't talk about popularity in any sense. We don't talk about sales. We talk about what somebody has done musically that changed the world. As we all know, whether you're in baseball or whether you're in the world of music, there are a lot of warts, and these things often show up and take the form of every kind of conceivable malady that an individual can sort of foist onto another individual, and that's unfortunate. But we don't popularize the sort of bad behavior. In fact, when Mick Jagger was inducted with the Rolling Stones, he said it was interesting that they were being on their good behavior that night to be inducted despite all the bad behavior they may have had for so many years. We don't celebrate it. We don't put it into the formula as to who gets inducted and who doesn't, nor does it have an impact on once you're inducted should you create some semblance about your life and how you carried on your life after the fact. But thank you for asking. It is a question that comes up.
Hi, Terry.
Hey, Nick.
How are you? I wanted to know if you would comment or offer your thoughts on how you gauge the civic appetite for the further branding of this city with rock and roll. And also on that line, what your ideal vision of how that might come to be, if scaled down, of course. That is your vision. Not that. Not
you and I will talk later, but
yeah.
But I will answer the question.
You know, I shouldn't have come.
No. I'm giving him a hard time. Nick, as I said earlier, is one of the great citizens of this town, has done so much to give us a city that will encourage more people to come here. As I've said, and this is not your answer to your question, but as I've said, that we have such great sort of pockets of entertainment and food and everything around the city between the Warehouse District, despite its problems, 4th Street, Playhouse Square, the Orchestra, and University Circle. At some point, we have to connect all those dots, and that's what we all see is hopefully coming in the near term. The point I was trying to make earlier is that not to the diminution of other cultural assets, but I think we have to go more with a brand that works and not a series of brands that continue to change. And I personally feel that Cleveland Rocks is one that's known around the world, and it's not one that I tie to any organization. I know it sounds self-serving because I'm standing up here as a museum, but it's about the city rocking. It's about the orchestra rocking. And a rising tide lifts all boats. And the more people we get to come here, and the better we can give our message about come to Cleveland. And if we know from all of our studies that people make a decision, by and large, the one thing that makes the biggest decision to come to Cleveland is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And that's going to bother people, but it's the reality. It really is. Because there's only one in the world. There's not one in Europe. There's not one in Asia. There never will be. I will sue their ass till the end of time. Did that go out on the air? I guess it did. Well, I say that on the radio now. But, no, seriously, we protect that. Yeah, I know. But, seriously, it's freedom of speech, too, Paul. So, I really believe that I think there's an opportunity to exploit it more and leverage it more. And I do mean that, folks, those of you who are maybe not the biggest rock and roll fans, maybe haven't been to the museum. This is something that is known around the world, and the only thing that's ever challenged it in terms of bringing people to Cleveland, is he who shall remain nameless, and he who be gone. No, Mr. LBJ. Okay, so, you know, that's where I'm going with that. And my vision is to continue to work that and make sure that we are cohesive with all the other organizations who may find it as something that doesn't work as well as they think it should be in terms of the way they brand themselves or brand the city. But I have to take that mantle on. I really do.
Mr. Stewart, you mentioned the symbiotic relationship between the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and your neighbor just a few feet down the street, the Great Lakes Science Center. The Great Lakes Science Center has really set an example of what can be done for the environment, the way of conserving energy, cutting down environmental costs, and also demonstrating to visitors the good things that can be done in the way of environmental action. The museum has solar panels, it even has a windmill that's very visible, and just down the street on East 9th Street, Progressive Field even has solar collectors. You mentioned there will be a new improvements made, additions made to your museum. Can you include in those additions areas that relate to the environment? Because facts have shown that these things that are done, whether the solar collectors or whatever, save money for the institution. At the same time, they do very positive things for the environment.
Excellent question. One that's it's important to us for a lot of reasons. One, it's the way we should live our lives. It's the way we should run our businesses. And on a different level, it's very important to a lot of the artists that we memorialize and induct. As I said earlier, these are artists, these people are the greatest idealists that ever lived. They got the biggest microphone that ever existed. They changed the world, and they have adopted sustainability and the greenness of the world, and they've tried to change the world. We've done a couple of things, and I won't tell you we've done everything because we don't have the resources to do it all at once. But in the library that we built at Tri-C, we took that as far as we could into, is the right term LEED certified? Am I correct on that? Pardon me? Silver LEED certified, which goes from everything from lights, paint, wall coverings, carpeting. All that was done at that library to the extent possible, both with our resources and the fact that the building is not totally ours, it's Tri-C, so we had to work together on that. And our redesign similarly. What percentage of our new lighting systems are LED coming up, Brian? Is it 80%, 90%? Almost 80 or 90% of our lighting systems will be, they're all going to be replaced, and 80 or 90% are LED, which is both in terms of greenness or sustainability the right thing, and secondarily protects the artifacts much better than incandescent and the other forms that we have. Similarly, everything that we do now, every time we have a capital expenditure, if at all possible, we are looking to move the ball down the field in that front. Unfortunately, like any institution, we don't have large capital reserves, and we had to attack certain other parts of that project. But every aspect that we can make green and sustainable and environmentally friendly, we do. I wish I had a turbine. I wish I had someplace to put it. I wish I had a parking lot. Did I say that? I did say that, okay. But on all those fronts, I promise you that we are looking at that in everything we do, and we would be terribly remiss, again, just from the artist standpoint, if we didn't do it. In fact, one of the things I've talked about is, and I've talked with Linda about it, is that everybody wants to have a musical festival here, and this is really pie in the sky stuff. And what we're trying to do is find some musical festivals that are attached to causes. And these aren't festivals that probably drive any revenue to the museum, probably. It's probably sort of a good thing to do. One of the festivals I'm hoping to come up with, and I've talked to the Browns about this too, the Browns are on our board, is to create something on the waterfront that would focus on the Great Lakes and the Freshwater Institute stuff that Linda's trying to do over there, because then that draws us into her circle and draws the artists. And to my knowledge, nobody has really sort of fastened on to that particular cause in a perfect way musically. We've had a couple of fits and starts of trying to have concerts to raise money for the Great Lakes and that sort of thing. So it's on my back burner. I can't tell you it'll get done soon, but thank you for asking.